Hey runners, it's Macy, and I'm your host for the Move with Mace podcast. I am so thankful that you joined me today to learn more about running. So let's dive in. Today, I'm going to talk about literally just getting started. Sometimes this is the hardest part, especially for new runners. New habits are scary, especially if you're unsure of even where to start. So, as far as running goes, just lace up your shoes, and if you have to, walk out the door. Like, literally just lace up and walk out the door. Start where you're at. Immediately, it can be so intimidating. So I just encourage you to put those fears aside and start moving. Even worse can be the whole aspect of just you've never ran before. So why should you start now? Yeah, well, truth be told, anyone can run, so you just have to start. I'm not sure who said the quote, but this is absolutely one of my favorites, and I think no matter where you're at, you need to hear it. It goes as, before I began running, the idea that I'd ever go a mile seemed impossible. And of course it was, until I ran a mile. You guys, literally, it seems so impossible until you do it. I promise you, I was in that same boat. When I started running in middle school, I couldn't run a mile. Between running and biking, I got myself there, and now I can proudly say that I've ran 26.2 miles. You guys, anything is possible. You just have to start. I promise. So I highly encourage you, take the first step and just start. That first mile is always, always, always the hardest. It might be your thoughts of what others might think of you that are stopping you, just kind of that self-doubt creeping in, and maybe it's a little bit of uncertainty mixed in. I encourage you to lace up your shoes anyway, even if in the midst of it all, these dreading thoughts are just start. Like, just put them aside, crush them before they ever get started, and just start. If you are doing it for you, that's huge. Running, as much of a team sport as it is, it's about you. So take it one step at a time, 1 mile at a time. Even if you have to walk and run, just do 1 mile. You should be dang proud of yourself for even getting out the door and getting started. Whether you make it that full mile or not the first time, just take it one day at a time, one step at a time, and do what you can do. Running is hard, but the more you do it, the stronger you get and the easier it becomes. So what's once seemed hard isn't so hard anymore because you're on to something else that seems impossible. I can promise you that aim small, like aim for a 5K, that's 3.1 miles. Sign up for one, and that's going to keep you motivated to some degree. So this goes back to, if you haven't heard last week's episode on community, I encourage you to go back and listen to that, because signing up for a race is one thing, but finding a community of people that are going to help you and encourage you to keep going when times get tough, that's huge, especially for beginners and just getting started. So listen to that episode, but also just look in your community and find others that are going to motivate you, because that motivation is powerful in times of self-doubt and just when things get tough, because like I said before, running is hard. So find somebody that's going to cheer you on. And honestly, you don't have to have it all figured out to begin. You learn as you go. If we waited until we all figured it out, we'd never get started on anything. And honestly, you probably wouldn't be listening to this podcast right now if I had waited to figure it all out. So, you guys, running is a chance for you to learn as you move. If you have questions around the type of shoes you should wear, what clothes are best, yada, 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 like seek out a friend that's ran or who runs, or find a local running store, because they're out there and they have experts that can help answer those questions. And you're going to have more questions as you dive deeper in, but let those come as the time comes. Don't worry about it right now. Just put on what shoes you've got and go. And if you stick with it, good running shoes, I highly encourage you to invest in a pair, because they are important. So whatever you do, do not let the thought of, I'll never be as good as so-and-so, or I can't keep up with Joe Blow, man, if I tried. You guys, don't let those stop you. You are the one that is competing against yourself. So aim to be better than you were yesterday. Don't worry about Joe Blow. Don't worry about trying to keep up with so and so. You don't know where they're at in their journey. What if they started running 6 years ago or, longer than that? Obviously, a mile isn't hard for them anymore. You guys, you have to do what you can do. So just keep that in mind. Is like, you can't, running is so much of a team sport, but yet it's individual. If I would have known and had the mindset that I have today back in high school, I probably could have been a better runner, but I was so focused on being better than so and so that it was discouraging. So take it from me and learning for myself of like, it is such a mindset game. If you can master the mind of not competing against the person next to you, but competing against yourself, if you let them push you, then that's fine. But like, I encourage you, it is so much about you. So yeah, just, you need to be better than yourself. Take those words, push yourself, but don't let trying to be better than so and so limit you from what you can do. So I encourage you to start where you are at and work on you, and the rest, I promise, will fall into place. So I encourage you to do something today that scares you. If that's literally just getting started, put on those shoes and walk out the door, or get on that treadmill that you've been staring at from across the room. Like, just move your body. And I promise you, as hard as it will be to get started and keep going, stick with it. Find somebody that is going to hold you accountable. Even if they don't run, they can still hold you accountable for running if that is your goal. So, if you've never gone a mile, I encourage you to walk/run a mile. Like, a mile is still a mile. It doesn't matter how you got there. A small victory is still a victory. So I encourage you to celebrate each and every victory that you have. Now lace up and get moving.